From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. It's Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Not forget the Junior. Very important, remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review if you're watching, because on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, get the bell notification for when we drop that
fire content.
And also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Please stay here because we got a lot of programming on this beautiful network we started just a couple of months ago, and we just keep adding more and more to it. So if you're here, thank you for being here, and tell your friends because we like viewers, and I think the content is certainly worth it. All right, Wednesday, big day. We are in game plan mode now. We are there. Wednesday is the big game plan day. Monday is usually the day you talk about the game that had just happened. Well, there was no game, so we talked. I'm happy to get to today because it really feels like we can hone in on the matchup. We're not talking about other storylines. We can hone in on Saints and Cardinals and what do they have to do to get a victory. We are not talking about a quarterback competition. We're talking about Spencer Rattler, the quarterback. We'll get into that in just a second. We're not talking about who's making the 53. The 53 has mostly been set, short of a few moves here and there, and there'll be a couple more, I'm sure, throughout the season. But we are no longer debating those types of things. We are now fully in game week mode, and I love it. How about you, Andre?
I'm so happy. I'll be happier when we get to Sunday, but you know, it's nice to be through all of the off-season talk and the preseason talk, and now we can focus on, you know, Saints receivers versus Cardinals secondary. Will the Saints finally be able to stop a mobile quarterback? You know, how will the secondary, you know, for the Saints, Alontae Taylor, will he be there? Kool-Aid McKinstry, how is he going to do? There's so many questions surrounding this game, but the biggest question is surrounding one of the guys you just mentioned, quarterback Spencer Rattler. We saw Spencer Rattler play last season, hasn't picked up his first win in the NFL yet. But Sean, as we look ahead to Sunday against the Cardinals, what does he have to do in that game to be successful and finally pick up that first win in the NFL?
There's a couple ways to look at this because what defines success, what gives you confidence in his play, what are the things you have to do, even if it doesn't necessarily lead to a win. I do think at some point the wins have, not at some point, I mean, you play to win. So at some point the wins have to be a part of the equation. They have not been yet. I think there has been a viewpoint of his last year's struggles in the prism of rookie, injured team, came in midseason, second year. I think it's not unreasonable to expect a level of confidence from him this year as opposed to last year. He said all the right things last year, and he is a confident guy in general, but it's perfectly normal for him to be more confident this year. He got a ton more reps with the first team this year in training camp than obviously last year where he got 0. He wasn't even the game day 2 last year. B, he's got a healthier squad at least to start the season, which is certainly something that you can hang your hat on. He had some guys here and there last year, but for the most part, the Saints were a banged-up team when he took over. He had some pieces here and there, but not the full arsenal at his disposal. At least for week 1, it appears he will have most of that arsenal at his disposal when you talk about the weapons. And most of the offensive line will get a good reading on the Trevor Penning situation a little bit later today. And then obviously we'll get more and more information later in the week. So with that being said, he's not being delusional to be more confident. I think he's perfectly, it's the natural evolution of where he's at in his career. The question is just how good can he be and what can he do on a week-to-week basis to instill confidence and have success? Well, the number one thing, first and foremost, just tangible thing you were terrible at that last year, you got to be better at this year. And it's pretty simple. You got to beat the blitz. You got to know how to beat the blitz. Last year when the blitzes came, in the second half of games in particular, but really it didn't matter when it came, he was not the same player. He did not step up in the pocket as much. He did not climb up and through as much. There was a lot of, I'm not sure what I'm seeing, kind of retreat out the back door and trying to reset the play and make the play. And look, Spencer Rattler is a good athlete, but he's not a good enough athlete to do that on a regular basis and get away with it. He's not Lamar Jackson. It's not going to happen. So I think beating the blitz is hopefully something he studied. Beating the blitz is hopefully something he's prepared for, because I can guarantee you he will get blitzes until he shows he cannot, or until he makes that defensive coordinator pay for sending the extra guy and leaving yourself vulnerable on the back end of coverage. So beating the blitz, to me, is the most tangible thing that he has to get better at. So hopefully he will be better at it. And this will be an interesting group he's going up against, because it's a unique group with Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals team. Some things they do is a little different. I don't know if it's a heavy blitz team, but there's a lot of simulated pressure. So it feels like you're blitzing, but they're actually dropping guys out. So you're trying to get you to panic on one side. So you look to the other side, you think it's open, and boom, a defender pops in from out of nowhere. So that's number one. Number two, trust Kellen Moore.
Yep.
Trust Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, more than any other thing, I think Kellen Moore is created I hate this phrase, but a safe space for the quarterbacks. He's not going to leave them vulnerable. And when they get in a rut, this is one thing I picked up on in the preseason, he's going to find a way to get them back into rhythm with some easy completions and some easy throws. I think trusting Kellen Moore is it's crucial for Spencer Rattler to have that type of success. He chose you, so trust him. He trusts you, so you trust him. And I must say, I had no evidence to suggest he would not. So I think that's certainly going to be a good thing. Here's the other thing. There are times, you see it in practice, you saw it sometimes in the games, he will get into a rhythm, and that confidence turns into overconfidence, and he tries to do some Superman stuff. Don't be Superman. Stay within the play. Trust the play. Be confident, but don't be overconfident. Don't kill yourself with a throw you know you should not make based off the fact that you're in the zone. Don't do it. You can't get away with it at this level. And if you do, I guarantee you're not going to get away with it more than once. So overconfidence, bad. Confidence is obviously a great thing. Stay decisive. That was the buzzword all training camp when it came to Spencer Rattler. You ask Kellen Moore about Spencer Rattler, the first word out of his mouth, decisive, decisive, decisive. I broke down a play where he was very decisive, and it was the reason why they got the tie in the Jacksonville Jaguars preseason game. Decisive means exactly that. You drop back, you're confident in what you're seeing, and you make a strong decision. There's the whole feeling of, okay, sometimes indecision is worse than a bad decision. And what you want is a clear-cut guy that's not afraid to make a decision on a play. Decisive, decisive, decisive. And finally, you got to finish. You got to finish. This 2 quarters of good ball is not that you're going to be a backup the rest of your career. If all you can show us is 2 quarters of quality ball, or a quarter and a half of a couple of good drives, or a stretch of good play, and then in the second half it's over, you're not going to ever instill the confidence you can be anything more than a high-end backup in this league if you are not able to consistently perform through 4 quarters, or if you're playing 4 quarters in a game, the best part of your play is in the second half.
Right. Because
we saw spurts. I mean, his best game was against Washington last year, but he only played a half in that game. So there has to be a focus on finishing if you're Spencer Rattler. So beat the blitz, avoid overconfidence, trust Kellen Moore, be decisive, and most importantly, have it in your head. Finish, finish, finish. If you go into the locker room of a game, I'll take Tampa Bay for last year, the season finale.
Yep.
He was the best player on the field for about 2 quarters. You go into halftime of a game, you need to be as focused and as dialed in and say, okay, this is where it gets me this is where it got me every week last year when I started. This year, I got to be even sharper in the second half. Hopefully, mentally, he gets to that place. Because if he doesn't, then the job will go to Tyler Shuck a lot quicker than Spencer Rattler wants to. So that's where I'm at with Spencer Rattler. If he wants to have success, I think those are the things he has to do.
You know, typically when we do topics like this and we don't talk about it beforehand, we wind up overlapping a lot. But actually, I've got 2 more to add, 2 more that
Let's
you
hear it.
didn't say. Number 1 at the top of my list, take care of the football. You know, you look at Spencer Rattler's stats last year, 1,300 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 5 fumbles. He put the football in danger a lot more than he put the football in the end zone. That's just the reality of it. I know there's a lot of excuses. Some maybe you feel they're valid, others a little bit stretching the truth, but regardless, undeniable, he put the ball in danger more times than he put the ball in the end zone. That can't happen, not just against the Cardinals, but that can't happen this season. And you look at some of those interceptions, they weren't talent-based, based around the fact that he was dealing with injuries. He underthrew a pass into double coverage against Tampa to Rashid Shaheed, a starting receiver. That's a throw you can't make. Another throw on the sideline, he was late on it. No matter who's running that route, if you make a late throw to the sideline, this was against Tampa as well, that pass is getting picked off. Green Bay, the game they got shut out, he threw it into triple coverage. Yeah. You could have Megatron out there. You throw it into triple coverage on a what in the world is that pass, it's getting picked off. You look at the Raiders, he made a bad throw over the middle. Once again, not talent-based, that's a bad throw by him. And his last interception was one to the flat in a running back where he threw it 4 feet over his head. It got tipped and intercepted. Unless you've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at running back, that probably is not going to work. So once again, Spencer Rattler, you need to take care of the football. Don't put the football in danger. This is going to be the truest look we ever have at Spencer Rattler, because last year we can say everything about injuries, the offensive line, defense, this, that, and the other. The defense is good. They played well in the preseason. The offensive line is healthy, minus maybe Trevor Penning. We'll see where he is on Sunday. You've got all your receivers, not just all your receivers this year, but they've also traded for a receiver in Devon Vele. We'll see where he can, factor in. Something they didn't have last year in a big body, big play guy. So you essentially have every weapon on offense that you can want, minus Taysom Hill. Let's see what Rattler's got in this game. That's my first one. Take care of the ball, avoid turnovers. My second one isn't necessarily what Spencer Rattler can do for the team. It's what the team can do for Spencer Rattler, specifically Kellen Moore, and that's limit the amount of pass attempts that he has. Another stat, while I was looking at his numbers from last year, that stood out to me, the number was 33. He had 33 pass attempts per game last year.
Wow, say that again?
33 pass attempts per game last year as a fifth-round rookie.
Yeah.
And that's counting the game that he only played half of in the Commanders game and the game that he played about 2.5 quarters in the Chargers game. So if you really account for the time, it's more than that. It's probably about 35 pass attempts per game with the time that he played. That's too many.
That is.
That is way too many. If we're in a situation on Sunday where Spencer Rattler has to throw the ball 33 to 35 times, the Saints are probably losing that game. If you're the Saints, you need to establish the run early. You need to take the stress off Spencer Rattler. And I looked last year at the 2 games when the Saints came out. They were the darlings in the NFL, blowing teams out the water. Week 1, and this is with Derek Carr, a quarterback who probably better than Spencer Rattler. Carolina, Derek Carr was 19 for 23, threw the ball 23 times. The Saints ran the ball 37 times that game. Week 2 against Dallas, Derek Carr was 11 for 16. The Saints ran the ball 39 times that game, and it worked. You control the clock. You stop your offense from going behind early. And in running the ball effectively, which they were, that gives Derek Carr some big bombs off of the play action. We saw Spencer Rattler make the deep throw to Mason Tipton. He's capable of doing it. You just needed to be there. So for me, the biggest key in this game is keeping Spencer Rattler within himself. I would like to, if Spencer Rattler ended the game with 22 pass attempts, I think that's a good spot for him. If he's less than 20 pass attempts, even better, because that means you're probably running the ball effectively and you're winning the game. So for the Saints, I think you need to, once again, limit the amount of times Rattler has to put it in the air, because 33 pass attempts per game last year, and that's not even including the times he scrambled and ran on a passing play. That's not including the times he was sacked on a passing play, which happened 22 times, if I remember correctly, last year. So the Saints limit the amount of time he's throwing the ball. Not because he's unable to throw the ball. That's not a dig on Rattler, but you don't want your young, inexperienced quarterback throwing the ball 33 times a game. And for Rattler, in the times where you do throw it, take care of the football.
And hopefully getting exposed to that many attempts and that many coverages and that many blitz looks and bluffs and fronts, hopefully he channeled that information the proper way, and hopefully that comes out on the field. Something else you said, we talked about the ability to run the football and control the line of scrimmage. I don't know what kind of run game they're going to hang their hat on. Last year was the wide zone. We knew that, and everything was off of that. They ran so many variations of that play. They ran so many personnel groupings and formations off of that play. That was the bread and butter running play. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the unknown of Kellen Moore. The biggest being, I don't know what kind of run game they're going to be, because that kind of defines your offense a little bit. It's like, how do you want to run the ball? Do you want to run more inside zone? Do you want to run more outside zone? Do you want to be more of a gap scheme? Do you want to be more of a zone blocking team? Obviously, you do both. You don't just do one, but there's one you obviously kind of becomes your bread and butter. And and this is the other thing. It's, okay, how do you choose to attack with your running game that we don't know much about, and then the passing game off of that? Because we all agree this is probably going to have to be a run-first team, at least early on, to be successful, especially coming from where Kellen Moore came from last year. We had Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Obviously, they don't have Jalen Hurts and they don't have Saquon Barkley here, but you can understand why he would kind of gear towards that version with the current Saints personnel with Alvin Kamara and obviously Spencer Rattler in this game. How do they attack off of that? Is it going to be the RPO game where you read that, you stick it, you stick the ball into the running back, and then you pull it if the backer commits to the run game? Is it more of a zone read game? Is it a high-low type offense? And based off what I've seen, it feels like they've gravitated more towards the sideline passing, out routes, flat routes, corner routes. When they go deep, it's usually on a rail. So there's so many questions that we can only kind of estimate and guess at, that at least we're going to get some data and some kind of collect some information in terms of, all right, how does Kellen Moore view this and how does he want to attack? Because as of now, we don't know, and that's what we talked about last week, or last show, and that unknown factor is hopefully that's kind of their biggest ace. It's like, okay, they don't know what we're doing here. I can kind of get a read on what the Cardinals are doing because based off film study, but they don't know what I'm going to do here. You got to use that to their advantage.
And you mentioned that unknown factor. We talked about it on Monday, and I thought it was interesting. On Tuesday, I was listening to Jonathan Gannon, the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, talked, and he almost mirrored what Kellen Moore said. And, the difficulty to plan for a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, who we've only seen so little of, and even in the bits that we've seen of Spencer Rattler, that was under Clint Kubiak. That was with Dennis Allen and Darren Rizzi, at the helm as head coach. Now you're looking at him with a new head coach, a new offensive mind. You've got Doug Nussmeier in the room. There's so much that's new and unknown, and that is a challenge for the Cardinals. And even their head coach acknowledged that, So one of the unknown, like you mentioned, is how they're going to run the ball, especially without Taysom Hill. In those 3rd and 1, potentially 4th and 1, 3rd and 2, those short yardage situations where you could put Taysom Hill in and say, everybody on that field, everybody in the stands, everybody in the press box, everybody watching from their couches at home knows what's about to happen. And we know they can't stop it anyway because Taysom Hill is one of the best to ever do it when it comes to short yardage situations. They don't have that right now. So what's the play calling going to be like in that situation? But I will say, I really like the running back room as it is right now. I like the depth in that room. I like the biggest thing over the last few years has been taking carries off the shoulders of Alvin Kamara, who is coming off a career high in touches last season. Now you've got a Kendre Miller who is healthy, who is ready to contribute. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kendre get 7 to 10 touches in this game. You've got a Velus Jones Jr. who we know how explosive he can be on the ground with the ball in his hands, but also in the receiving game because he's a former wide receiver. You've also got Devin Neal, the rookie, with upside and potential that's so far been untapped, but we saw glimpses of it in that last preseason game. So, once again, last year, 37 times they ran the ball against Carolina, 39 times they ran the ball against Dallas last year in those first 2 games. You've got a running back room that's deep enough to run the ball 35, 36, 37 times if it's working. But that only is if you're in the lead, because you can't pound that rock when you're down 21 to 3.
And that's where you have to do enough. You can't just run your way to a win. At some point, you're going to have to make clean decisions with the football when you're throwing it. And can he generate enough to get you in enough scoring positions to finish with either touchdowns or field goals to keep the points coming to where you can, you can maintain, where you're at, so you can maintain that role in terms of, or that approach in terms of running the football, in particular, closing out games. So that'll certainly all be interesting to see as they get closer and closer. And I was thinking when you said that, Is there two more automatic, like you know what's coming plays, and Kellen Moore's kind of tied to both, than the Taysom Hill QB power when everybody's lined up close, and the tush push from Philadelphia? Those are the two, like, you know what's coming, try to stop it.
And most times than not, they don't stop it.
And the other thing is, what sort of personnel grouping are there going to be? Are they going to be a 3-receiver team? Because if they are, how does it impact your run game? Because you get theoretically less bigs on the field when you have the 3-receiver set. Is it going to be a 2 tight end team, a 12 personnel set? Is it going to be Deuce said something interesting. He said it's going to be a pony package team where it's 2 backs on the field, not a fullback and a running back, but 2 running backs on the field, which will make sense with a guy like Velus Jones Jr. So again, we can only speculate, or we can only kind of make educated opinions. That's why I'm so thrilled for this week, because talking's finally over. We can kind of finally see what the final sort of picture looks like, at least for week 1. But also, speaking of quarterbacks, he's back, y'all. He is back. Jake Haener has been elevated or assigned to the active roster. He is going to be obviously the 3rd quarterback for the Saints, and he was released and brought back to the practice squad, and throughout the week, back where he started on the active roster for the Saints. So why would they do this? Look, my only guess would be you get that emergency quarterback spot. You're technically an inactive, and I don't think you can do that as a practice squad guy. So they probably brought him up to be just that. You just never. Now that you have that spot and it doesn't cost you anything, it's pointless to not have your 3rd string quarterback, at least on game days, be active, or at least on the active roster, even if he's technically an inactive, to make sure you cover, because no one wants to deal with what was the 49ers a couple of years ago when they were playing Christian McCaffrey at quarterback, because
or the Broncos when they came here and they had to play a receiver at quarterback.
Remember that? That was the COVID year? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why, but the old Jake ain't going nowhere. He is still here, and he is on the active roster.
Yeah, he's a young player who Kellen Moore, at least early in the process, was willing to give a solid chance at this quarterback competition. Obviously, he didn't win it, couldn't beat out Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, but he's at least as familiar with this system as any other quarterback in the league would be. Now, I thought maybe they'd move for a veteran, like a Kenny Pickett, who wound up getting released by Cleveland, or an older quarterback. I was like, maybe one of them could come down to black and gold and kind of add some experience to this room. But Kellen Moore rode with the familiar face in Jake Haener. So, I can't say it's a good or bad thing, because I don't think it has much impact on the game unless the catastrophic happens and Rattler goes down and Shuck goes down. We knock on wood that doesn't happen. But, Jake Haener's around. He's a smart player. He's a good practice player. He's someone who, with the media, if everybody spoke with as much confidence as Jake Haener, he's still learning how to walk that walk, but he can talk that talk for sure. So, Jake Haener back in black and gold.
And honestly, he got, I'm trying how many opportunities he got. He came in the game, Derek got hurt against the Chiefs.
And the Giants.
And then he came in the Denver game and the Chargers game. He started the Washington game. It was a disaster. But as an in-game relief pitcher, if you had to turn to him in a catastrophic situation, which if it got to him, that would have been that would qualify as a catastrophic situation. You can trust him to finish the game. He understands the offense, and he will get you to the finish line. You may not win, but you will get to the finish line, and it's an important role to have on this team.
The only question I have, and someone may be typing it in the comments right now, is this only until one Taysom Hill comes back from injury? Because hypothetically, if you've got Rattler and Shuck as your starters and you need an emergency quarterback, there is a guy already on the roster with more wins and experience playing quarterback than anybody else. And if the catastrophic happens and your 2 young quarterbacks go down, I think there's a lot of people who would, if he's healthy, trust the Taysom Hill in that situation even more than the Jake Haener.
Let me tell you something. When I tweeted out the Spencer Rattler news about him starting, and just talked about it, the response I got, some were Team Rattler, some were Team Shuck, but don't discount the Team Taysom that's still out there as QB1, not the Taysom jack of all trades, but still have the belief that he is the best option at quarterback. And given the fact that Kellen Moore said he's doing quarterback meetings now, he's spending most of the time with his quarterbacks, Yeah, you're probably right. That probably could be something once he is back on the field or able enough to go. They would, I mean, you could do a whole lot worse than that as third-string quarterback than Taysom Hill. So, yeah, I could see that certainly happening. But for the time being, it's old Jake's show at QB3. So, which was interesting because he started in the competition. I kind of felt like the competition, I understood why he did it, but it wasn't necessary. Kellen didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I do think, every third day when he was with the ones, I felt like it might have set the other two guys back a little bit just because it was less time they got to have with the ones. I think it ended up being 2 or 3 practices, all things being said. So it wasn't a whole lot of time. But still, with young quarterbacks, that time is certainly valuable anytime you get on a practice field. But what's past is past. The quarterback room is Rattler, Shuck, and Haener until Taysom comes back, and we'll see how creative they get with that. And that's just kind of the way they go in this Saints-Cardinals matchup. A matchup, Andre, where I think I said it last show. A couple weeks ago looked a lot better than now. That Cardinals team is. The more I get into this team, that team's got some players. I wouldn't be shocked if they're better than people realize this year.
Absolutely, and I was looking at the spread because, I'm a big sports bettor. +6.5 Cardinals, that's essentially a touchdown that the Saints are underdogs, and they're at home. So typically that line leans towards the home team a little bit, and I get why it's that big. I mean, the Cardinals, especially running the football, James Conner has been so consistent. Kyler Murray, inconsistent, but when he's on, he's so dangerous. Marvin Harrison Jr. going into a second year, and they've got studs and veterans and experience on that defense. So it's going to be a tough job for the Saints, but if they can run the ball, Rattler can control the turnovers, be decisive like you mentioned, the Saints could pick up a win week 1 against the Cardinals and have that dome rocking.
That'd be something. I mean, and I think right now the fan base is in a good spot in terms of understanding what this team, how challenging this season could get. So it'd be nice to start off the season with a win. But we'll see. A couple days away. Enjoy it. All right, for Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.